Today we're talking about period shame, and of course that follows the unfortunate suicide of Jacqueline in Bureti in Bomet County, and it's alleged that she killed herself on account of period shaming by her teacher after she soiled her uniform. I'm sure you've heard about that story. That story has been picked up widely, not just in Kenya, but across the globe. And joining me to take that conversation forward is Lydia. She's a professional counselor. So happy to have you. Not the first time we've had you on NTV. Always a pleasure. And also joining us is the co-founder of Sisters Speak. And she's one of the faces behind the Heels for Pads initiative. If you've been on Instagram, probably you've seen very influential persons or young ladies speak on that initiative. And shortly, she'll be joined by her co-founder. They're both Angelas. This is Angela Mwirure, and her co-founder is called Angela Wawiri. Was that a coincidence?
I mean, Angela squared is what we like to say.
Okay, Angela. So we'll be joined by the squared of Angela. Happy to have you both. Angela, this is not the first time. You've been on the trend several times.
Oh, yeah. I have a few of my good friends on here, so.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So this is what we're talking about, and that is the menstrual cycle, and why there's so much shame and stigma associated with the cycle. It is normal. It's a normal body function. Yes. But, people don't really talk about it. And one of the reasons you'll see that men, although not going to women's handbags, partly, aside from the cultural connotations, is because they're afraid to encounter these things called sanitary towels. So I'll start with you, Lydia. Why is there so much stigma associated with the menstrual cycle? Is it cultural?
To a great extent, it's cultural. We don't even talk about sex, leave alone talking about period. And most parents have no way of educating their daughters on what menstrual period is all about. And even teachers, they feel as if it is a topic that should be talked to by the parent. Unfortunately, the parents are not doing it, the teachers are not doing it. Because if we were to talk about it openly, the girls will be free. Unfortunately, we don't. That's where the problem is.
Because I remember being in school, and so, we're all called into the hall, and a certain manufacturer of sanitary towels came in to speak to us. And when she started talking about the sanitary towels, it was girls and boys who were in the session. And there's a lot of there's a lot of giggling. Angela, did you experience that? Was it, a hush subject matter for you? How were you introduced to your menses?
Man, I got mine when I was only 10 years old, and I remember getting my period and being so shy. I guess at that time I still didn't have the full knowledge of, how to deal with it. And I remember going to see my mom at work, and she's like, "Why are you so quiet?" Da, da, da. And I was just like, I found blood in my panties. And so she just gave me a packet of pads and was like, you're a woman. So I think
was there a conversation before that? Did you know what was happening to your body?
I kind of had an idea, but I was so unsure. I wasn't that confident. And that is something we as Sisters Speaks, we as Heels for Pads, aim to really change for young girls. If you equip them with the knowledge of your period is natural, don't be scared, don't be shy. If you equip them with what to do when it does happen, it really does change the narrative.
Okay. Lydia, what was it like for you when you got your menses? Had your mother sat you down and explained to you that once a month for between 3 and 5 days, this is going to happen?
I can tell you for sure, nothing like that. My mother talking about menses, where? In those days? No, you discovered from others. And unfortunately for me, I was already mature. So I discovered from other students in Form 2. And I started in Form 3. So I was the only one who did not have periods by Form 3. So at least I was lucky because there were girls that were talking about it, and I ran from the other girls. Otherwise, if it had started from primary school, I would have been devastated. Yeah, because nobody talked to me about it.
Nobody
of course,
what
do you expect a traditional woman to talk about that? Yeah.
So why is that, though? I still don't understand why there's this, this hush around it.
I think where the problem is that we don't even communicate on other issues, leave alone that. What do we communicate about? Because I can imagine if this girl went to the mother and the mother was to communicate very well with the girl, she would have thought otherwise. But do we communicate with our children right from when they are young? Unfortunately, we are talking to our children when they are already big. So when you realize she has started her menstrual period, it's when you are calling her. Come, we talk. But you have not been talking to her there before, so it won't work.
And the aim of that conversation is to tell her that now you can get pregnant, you need to be careful.
Be aware of men.
Yes.
That is the aim now. Unfortunately, it won't work because the relationship starts from when you are breastfeeding the baby, and when you are bathing the baby, and when you are praying with the baby. But we are too busy for that.
Now, I mean, you know, children will go snooping around in your bag, and sometimes they'll come across, you know, a sanitary towel, and they'll ask you, okay, so what is this? What do you say?
For me, I have no problem with that. But most mothers have a problem with that. And they'll give all the rights in this world about what it is for, ngojea kuwe mkubwa, hiyo ni ya watu wazima, instead of explaining at that particular point what it is for, so that she can keep on expecting even me at one particular point, I'll go through this. And now, she'll be open to the mother or to the guardian to tell her, now it is time. Or before then, because nowadays children are starting as early as 9 years. So from 7 years they should be prepared from early enough.
Wow,
that this
seven
is coming.
it's so young.
Yeah, but they should be prepared because who knows when it is coming? Because nobody knows when it is coming. She said she started at 10.
Yes.
Yeah.
The others who are starting earlier than that. In fact, because I think because of the kind of food we are taking, the hormones are being released so early. So you are finding small girls that don't even know what it is to have periods. She is praying and the pads in anguka because she is very young. But if she is told now, from now onwards, when you are like this, you don't do A, B, C, D, and so on and so forth. So a mother has to walk a journey with that girl right from when she is young. But you cannot wait until she's 12, she's 15, it won't work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, Angela. Oh, let me just introduce the other Angela who's joined us now, the Angela Squared.
Yes, A Squared.
We're joined now by Angela Waweru, co-founder Sisters Speak. They, together, the two Angelas, Angela Squared, started the initiative Heels for Pads. Angela, you wanted to say something before I come to find out how you started it.
Yeah, so in addition to, you know, mothers guiding their daughters, Angela, she has a unique story because when she started her period, she was around her father. So, you know, one thing we aim is not just a women's issue, but it's everybody's issue. So,
Oh, tell us about that, Angela.
So I was 12 years of age and my mum had gone to work. Me and my sister have a 10-year age gap, so she's 2, I can't talk to her about it. So I've gone to the toilet. The school I was in before had told us what to look out for when on your first day of period. So I saw the discharge, I saw drops. I was like, today's that day. And I'm like, oh, I don't know where mum puts sanitary towels in the house. So I just got out of the toilet and I went and spoke to my dad. I was like, oh, I started my periods. I don't know where mum keeps stuff here. So do you mind taking me to the shops? And he didn't have no problem. We went in the car. He took me to the aisle where stuff is, and he's like, this is what I know there is, so pick whatever you want. So we picked as much as possible. In the evening, my mum was like panicking, thinking, are you okay? I'm like, it's good, Dad sorted it out. So for me, I advocate for bringing men into the conversation because it's not, you know, period is the future of life. It's the start of life, right? And every person has a mother. So, and possibly you could have a daughter. So I would want someone to say the same story as I did, that it's not an uncomfortable conversation to have. It's a normal thing. And we talk about period is power because it's to remind you that you're powerful. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just something that happens once a month. And it will come with its challenges, and we just need to embrace that. And for someone to to take their own life for that is the most scariest, most saddest thing that period poverty entails. And if we don't start paying attention to that and start challenging the masses to take charge and we change the narrative, we need to change the narrative. It needs to not be an issue. Someone shouldn't be ashamed. It shouldn't be something that I can only talk to you guys about and I can't talk to the guys and say, oh, I'm on my periods. I openly talk about it because my dad made it comfortable for me, and I hope someone else can say the same.
Okay, no, I'll be honest, even as an adult, I'll, take my sanitary towel and sneak off to the bathroom. You know, it's not something we talk about. But you at least knew what was happening.
Yes.
So did that happen on account of your teachers having, given a class on,
Yes,
on
so
what the menstrual cycle is, or is it your mother who had sat you down and told you, okay, expect this?
It was school to begin with. That's what I remember. So at around the age of 11, so it's about a year before, and they're talking about like counting your cycle and how to use a pad, and it was all like, went home, asked my mum. They told me I have to count 28 days. What does that mean? She tried to explain. She said, okay, I think when you begin is when you'll understand. So at least the two things I remember is how it looks like when you start, and the fact that if I get it, if I mess around with a boy, I'm going to get pregnant. So those two things never left my mind. So I always remembered that, and I was like, okay, cool. So now my body has changed and means that I must look at myself differently. I'm not just no longer a girl who can be around with boys and tomboy and whatever. I have to take care of myself and look after myself.
So the conversation started in school.
The conversation started in school, and I think with the schools that we've gone to, they add it as a pastoral care, and I don't think they put a lot of emphasis on that, and they don't also talk about what it means to have periods. Like, you know, your boys and men will view you differently, so it's not just about like, you know, using the pad and whatever. Also, you need to look after yourself and be careful how now guys look at you and what that could lead to, because it's not just pregnancy, there's also diseases that come from that.
All right.
Yeah.
Angela, where did the conversation start for you? In school, with your friends? Lydia tells me it was her peers talking about it, because she was a late bloomer. So where did the conversation start for you?
If I remember, it was just dibble-dabble in school, and I was painfully shy growing up. So even just hearing about it, I'm like, I don't get those. You know, just being very scared of the conversation and very scared of becoming a woman. But, you know, like once it happened, I don't know, school really was a big one for me. So I think that's why we really emphasize, you know, being in the classrooms and the fact that there are so many resources to, you know, help, you know, end period poverty, starting with the classroom. That's really where we try and hit home. And as far as mentoring girls, getting in there, making sure that they know, you know, what's happening with their bodies, and also encouraging our educators. Like, you are their mentors. For some of these young ladies, you're like their second mother. So it's so important to, you know, equip them with the knowledge that they need to feel confident about who they are as young women.
She had a 2-year-old sister at the time when she started. Angela, you have older and younger sisters.
Yes.
Did that make it easier?
Not per se. I'm actually the firstborn girl in my family, so now it was on to me. But I just find, like she said, culturally, like somehow it's a taboo to talk about these things, and you hide them. And for the longest, I used to wonder, does my dad even know what a period is? So I think, again, you know, it is our duty to make it as candid as possible, as natural, as very open. And teach people, like, yeah, hold your pad up. Don't be afraid. So even as grown women, like, let's lead by example.
All right. Lydia, I mean, for both of them, you know, the two Angela squared, you know, they heard about it in school.
In school, yeah.
So is there some training that's provided to teachers? You're an educator, you're a counselor, on how to tackle the subject?
Let me tell you the truth. In our education system, we are really emphasizing on the grades. What marks the girl or the boy is going to get, what the grade the boy is going to get, but not about other issues. Anybody dealing with other issues is because they have decided on their own, I am going to do this. And I remember when I was in primary school, it was called domestic science during my time. And domestic science teacher would call the big girls only. The small girls, we who are small, we were left out. And the big girls will be talked about that. And then they will never tell us what they were being talked to about, because they were saying it is about grown-ups, but you are small girls. And we never heard about it in primary school those days, never, because the big girls are the only ones who are taught about it. Now, when you come to today in primary school and secondary school, and I talk to a lot of girls in schools, both primary, upper primary and secondary, they have a lot of issues to do with the periods, because they do not understand what it is all about. Because they are not, even if they are being taught, it is in passing. And I would say this. I wish every school, both primary and secondary, because the same problem is in secondary school, not only in primary school, even in secondary school. Those girls really hide. It is a shame. It is what? If we can have a guidance teacher in every school that will be dealing with such issues, that her work is dealing with guidance, or his work is dealing with guiding girls and boys. Because that girl should have been sent to the guidance teacher. And the guidance teacher would have handled that girl very well, because it's not just about the shame. That was what broke the camel's back. If for somebody to commit suicide, there were so many underlying issues. But you know, shame took the whole part of her, everything, and she went down. If she went to the guidance teacher, if this teacher just told her, go to the guidance teacher would, if she's trained in counseling, would have handled her a little bit better. So I wish we had counseling or counselors, professional counselors in every school, at least one, who deals with issues that are coming from the teachers, that are coming from the students.
But you know, the question a lot of people have is that it was a female teacher. So they would expect them to you know, be empathetic, because soiling or staining yourself, it happens. I'll just be honest.
It happens.
Even when they have whatever age.
Even when they have
it happens. So you need specialized training for that, just to be human about it.
Yeah, it is true. Any human being should have dealt with that girl much better than the teacher did. I don't know what happened. But you went to school and these are teachers. It is like, I do not care. It is like you can go to hell and so on and so forth. I don't know, of course, they have their own problems, and therefore all the problems are projected on the children. Because why would you do that as a human being, leave alone a teacher, any human being, because it can happen to anyone. But I would not understand why a teacher would do that, because that is the last person should have done that. Unfortunately, it has happened.
I've been fortunate. When I was in high school, I think if I did stain myself, you know, my friends would come around, because you know, you can only take breaks at certain periods. You know, it's not like you can just stand up and walk out of the classroom. You know, they tell you, use your sweater. You know, just tie it around your waist, and they figure out the situation in the bathroom. So, Angela, did you have an educator you could talk to about this?
Yes, I'll never forget her. Her name was Miss Patty, and very fun woman, very candid. Everything sounded scary, but she always said, if you don't feel comfortable asking questions in front of the class, I'm available outside of class. My door is always open, and come and ask me any questions. So for me, growing up, she was my saving grace. She taught me so much in terms of menstruation and how to take care of myself. And then also providing a space for me to feel safe to ask her a lot of, like, you know, intimate questions about you know, my adolescence period of life.
What about you?
So for me, I was always just comfortable talking to my mom and my dad about it. But in school, because I studied in UK, they have counselors. So there are people dedicated to talking about your issues in terms of whether it's periods or whatever is troubling you. So, because like you said, the shame was the straw that broke the camel's back. So that means that it was underlying issues. And if the educating system could allow where there's proper pastoral care, because with UK they ensure that there's a tutorial period and there's someone that you can go to if you're struggling with even like things like if you can't access food in the morning, there's a breakfast club, you know. So there's so many things that they try and do to make sure that your education process is as smooth and comfortable as possible. So I do think that's the challenge here. And what happened, it could be the paying system. I don't know how they pay, and so someone's come with their own issues. We don't know the story of Jacqueline's family, so she's probably got issues at home or what have you. And so everything just becomes worse. So when the teacher shamed her, it gave the classroom to also participate in ridiculing her, right? So, and that just makes it worse. And if that was her first time, if that's true that it was her first time, that's even worse, because it's like, this is the beginning of a different stage in womanhood, and now I am made to feel like it's the worst thing in my plan. And then probably for her it was just like, I'd just rather not live through this again. How do I go back to that same place? Who is my teacher, who made me feel so uncomfortable about it?
No, I understand, you know, the emotions, okay, maybe not quite what she experienced, but you know, you kind of get it though, you know, showing your face somewhere where you quote unquote embarrassed yourself, you know, you feel like you are embarrassed, shamed. It's difficult. So Lydia, how would you have handled that situation differently?
Oh, if the girl came, and I have handled, very many, because I do a lot of talks and seminars, and I talk to girls, and I have gone to a seminar, and all of a sudden a girl come up and she has soiled her dress, and you look for a way of helping her. The only one I had a very big challenge was she had a trouser and a white one. You know, a skirt or a dress, you wash it and you continue with the life. You give her pads. I always have pads in my pocket because I know what situations I'll face. If you deal with girls, you always have that. They always, I didn't know it was starting today or it has just started right now, so you always give them pads. But if they have soiled their dress, now you pick them aside and you talk to them and tell it is okay. It can happen to anyone. It is even me as a grown-up, it can happen to me, so it's not something to worry about. Now you make sure that she feels not ashamed of herself, because it is normal. And then you help her. If it is washing there, if it's a skirt, we just turn around and wash it, a dress the same. But a white trouser, I found it very difficult to deal with her. And what we did, we were 2 ladies, we looked for a wrestle
to cover her.
and we covered her. And for the rest of the day, she had a wrestle. And we told the others, don't shame her. It is normal, because we were boys and girls. It is normal for her to go through this. Of course, she was not very comfortable for the rest of the day, but we could not send her home because we were very far away from home. She was not very comfortable, but at least she managed, because now she has tied a wrestle and she was okay.
Okay.
Yeah.